So, boom, here we are talking to Alan, all the way in Cape Town.
Hello.
So, Alan's a dad, big into CrossFit. That's how we met, obviously. If I don't meet people randomly on the road, it's doing CrossFit. Briefly, how we met, I rocked up a CrossFit box out in Durbanville. You guys were training. I had no idea. I just thought they were super friendly, but I could tell they were strong. And then I was like my typical self. I was like, I'll just jump in with a workout with you.
Yeah.
You're like, we're following Mayhem programming. So I was like, wicked. Okay, sounds good. I mean, I know who that is. So
yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? And then I think, apart from it being incredibly hot, and then I had skipping rope broke, everything.
Yeah, because Durbanville is about 5 meters from the sun.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Durbanville.
But you guys all blasted through the workout. And then what I love about you and I love about CrossFit, and I know I always harp on about it, was that you still find the time to come in till the clock goes, stand next to me, keep me going. When I could have easily just bailed out and gone, well, fuck it, missed the time cap, but you made me do every rep. Even if they sucked, every rep. It was double unders.
Sometimes it's not what you want though. Sometimes there's times in a workout, someone stands next to you and you're like, please fuck off.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
And so a year later, I just dropped you a message. I've been keeping in touch with you a bit, checking in on your progress for the games and things like that. You're obviously big into CrossFit, but just checking in. I said, hey man, would you like to come do a podcast? So as always, we're just going to talk a little bit about being a dad, being awesome, trying to get a bit fitter, trying to have a bit more fun.
Yeah.
And generally just amazing story we just started with, trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think, as your old man said, what was his tag?
Don't die wondering.
Don't die wondering. I mean, geez. I mean, gosh, that's such a line.
Yeah, it is. I think what hits you about that kind of line is always that it's always unexpected. So it's just a casual conversation. Then it could be, whether it's your dad or whether it's someone you've known for 10 minutes. You say that to someone else and they might be like, oh yeah, well, obviously. Well, that's fine, whatever. But at that point in time, to receive that comment or that advice, was so poignant for me. So I think timing is everything. Timing is everything.
True. And that's why, you're obviously a coach as well. We see a lot of people try fitness, drop out of fitness, try different things. And I thought that's why another way to also get to more busy dads, get to more lads as well, who may be struggling with a bit of depression or, drinking too much or whatever it is, they've got their vices. But if we stay consistent through doing this podcast, through sharing our message, your Instagram's great. I know you're ridiculously strong too, but you still, every day you're there, in a good way. It shouldn't be come across as it's just you're trying something mad and you're pushing yourself. I
think it's social media is it can be a double-edged sword, right? It can be a source of real negative reinforcement. Look at all these amazing people. Look at all their life highlights every day. And if you're following, 5,000 people and they're all just posting highlights, it's a shit ton of highlights to get through compared to your mundane 9 to 5 and you're struggling to make a cup of coffee in the morning kind of thing. So there's that aspect to social media, but then there's also the authentic side of it, and for me and my social media, I mean, everyone goes through phases where you feel like you're doing more of something and more of the other. That's fine. But whatever I've done on my social media, I've always just tried to be authentic. It'd be this is who I am. So I don't want there to be a disparity between, who you'll meet on in real life and who I'm going to be on social media. There should be no difference. Yeah. You should get the same energy from me, but either way. I
love that. And so let's get right into it. So you're a busy dad. I mean, today you've met me in a podcast, but you've coached 2 classes this morning. And then just give me a day in the life of how you've crushed all that training into this, what looks like an absolute athlete, because you are an athlete, but also how you're still crushing all that in while having a job and being an actor. So just give us a kind of slice on
a day. I would say, I love routine. I love breaks in my routine, but more so I love routine. So for me, especially this year, I wanted to focus on having a really good start and end to my day and a really simple routine that I rinse and repeat every day. So, for example, in the morning, it's waking up at 4:45. It's going through the windows, opening the windows, taking a few big breaths of air, turning on the kettle, washing my face, having my coffee, just being quiet and still for a little while, packing my bag, maybe having a bit of a snack, depending on my training regime at the time, and then head off to coaching. Then I'll coach from 6 until 8. I'll have a PT client from 8 until 9. Then I'll train from 9 until 11. Then I'll head home. I'll have some lunch. I'll check my emails for dark or whatever. If I have a casting or an audition or something like that, then obviously I can shift things around in terms of my training. I can shift that either side. So I'm a bit flexible during my day. But typically it'll be home, lunch, emails, do some admin. Then I'll try and sneak in a 30-minute nap around 2 o'clock. And then if there's something urgent I need to get through work-wise, then I'll do that then. Otherwise, I'll head back to the gym, get my second session in, and then I coach from 5 until 7. Then I'm back home, eat at around 8, 8:15, wind down, watch a bit of TV, bed by 10,
Boom.
do it again.
Yeah. And so just consistently, like with that, like obviously you've got 2 training sessions a day to get in, right? But just for some of your clients and for me or whatever, other busy dads, like when you put it in your diary, the one training session, it becomes so much more easier, It's almost like that mental block sometimes is like, when when you talk to clients or you talk to friends and you're like, when are you going to the gym? I'll be straight up and be like, no, I'm not going today. Yeah. But if I say something ambiguous, then you're like, no, I don't think he's
probably not going to go to the gym.
No, he's not. No.
And
I speak to clients, but when I know my clients are really making a turn, it's when they're like, yeah, so I've packed my gym bag. I'm going to go to the gym. Then I've got a meeting. Then I'm doing this.
Yeah, it's part of their routine.
You block your day out, and then it gets more achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a client that I had many years ago, and he was the CEO of a major company. And I said to him, I was like, you're an incredibly busy human being. But he saw me every day at the same time for an hour of training, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And I said to him, how do you get that right? And he said, what everyone forgets is that this hour is for me. This is my hour. This is me investing in my body 40 years from now. This is keeping up my health so that I can deal with the stress. This is my stress release so that it doesn't build up and I'll blow out and fire 17 people today. And this is a time where I just don't have to think. I have someone tells me what to do. I get through the exercises. By the end of that, I feel much better. I'm ready to rock and roll with the rest of my day. But in my diary, it doesn't say gym. It says business meeting.
Yeah. Clever.
So it's like every day I've got a meeting from 8 until 9 a.m. or 7 till 8, whatever it is for him. And it's in the diary. His secretary knows, his business partners know, everybody knows that he's got a meeting then.
Brilliant.
And that's how he did it, So what I say to a lot of people, especially guys that are trying to get into fitness or they're trying to break kind of a rut that they may or may not be in, make it a part of the routine of your daily routine. It's always going to be tough. The first month is always hard. It's not easy. It's like there's no way around that.
No, you don't just fall in love with burpees overnight.
No.
You don't just go, I'm going to do a burpee ladder.
You know what I feel like right now? 100 burpees.
Yeah,
I mean,
for time.
Yeah. What
is your time, by the way?
Yeah, exactly.
3.5 minutes,
exactly.
probably.
275. No, so it's getting into that routine. Whatever it takes for you. So like you said, for your clients, is they've packed the bag, they've set themselves up for success, whether it's packing the night before or getting it done. I find for a lot of people, getting it done in the morning is the best way to get it done.
Yeah.
Because if you wake up in the morning, you're like, well, I've set my alarm for 5:45 or 6:45, whatever it is. You wake up and you're like, oh, it's fine. I'll train this afternoon. It's fine. Roll over, sleep. By the time it gets to the afternoon, you are tired. You're over it. You're like, oh, now I've got to sit in traffic, and then I've got to go, and it's hot. Like, then I've got to go train in the heat. I don't want to train in this heat. I'll train tomorrow. And so it goes. And then you slip out of that routine.
Yeah.
So for me, the first one is always try and find that routine in terms of find a part, hopefully, in the first half of your day where you can sneak that session in.
Yeah.
And commit to that session.
Amazing. And then, without jumping around a bit too much, but when you then start loading that plate. So another thing I just listened to about was Chris Williamson. He's talking to Alex Hormozy and saying, like, if you put too many challenges on your plate at once, right, it becomes unmanageable. So say, for example, you've got dart, you've got a really big season of dart coming out, you've got a new range coming out, right? You're obviously going to like maybe prioritize that over some other things. You've obviously got the open coming, so then you ramp up your training for that, right? But equally, like, do you not often find you get dads who like like come to you or lads or anyone or women and mums, and they go, right, I want to lose 5 kilos. I want to run half marathon, right? I want to become vegan. Right?
Yeah.
and I also want to sort out the stress at home with my husband and my kids or my wife. And you're just like, how about...
And you're like, hang on. How about we start with, no white bread during the week. Yeah. Let's just start small.
Is that good? Yeah, and a walk. Yeah.
100%. And I think because you get those people, and it's not uncommon this time of year, New Year's resolutions, new year, new me, for people to be like, right, this is the year. I'm going to get that 6-pack. I'm going to run that 20-minute 5K, and I'm going to, whatever else you want to do, swim the mid-mile. But it's... whenever you speak to people like that, it's always like, okay, right, before we set all of these goals for you for the year, where are you at right now? How often are you training?
Yeah.
What does your day look like? Where does your stress come from? And now let's talk about, okay, what is realistic for you? Because whenever people come to me and they want to make a drastic change, whether it's to their lifestyle or to their diet or their training, whatever it is, I said, you cannot think of this journey as a sprint. It cannot be. You are not a speedboat. You are the cruise liner, that new one that they've just built and launched. What's it got, like 12, 18 decks or something that carries like 8,000 people. I mean, it's monstrous. You are that. Think of your lifestyle like that and turning that.
Right.
It is going to be a slow, deliberate, and focused process made up of 1,000 decisions every day. That's what it's going to be, and you have to treat it like that. This is a long-term journey. I don't look like this because I started training 2 years ago. I started training 18 years ago.
So tell us about that then. So then how did you fall in love with fitness, and what's your Bruce Wayne to your Batman story?
My Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate. I came in a very active family. I mean, it was just my mum and my dad and myself. We were very close, and they were always very active. So every morning they were up running. Running was their thing. So they were always very active. If my dad started to get a little bit of chubby, my mom would say, like, I hope you got those running shoes ready for tomorrow or whatever. There'd be that playful attitude around
where
their
are you
relationship.
running though, just for the backstory? Because now my mind's going to go
sorry.
You could be literally in the Karoo, or you could be in a bush, like in the forest, like in city.
I was going to say, I actually grew up in the Amazon.
Yeah.
No. This is in the Eastern Cape in East London.
Oh, right. Wow. Wicked.
Yeah. So grew up in East London, small Eastern Cape town, known for its good schools, Friesland milkshakes, and the Windmill burgers.
Okay. I'll have to go try them out sometime.
Yeah. And so small town.
So town running. Yeah. So mum and dad go out running.
Exactly.
And when did you start running?
So I loved sport.
Okay.
So always sporty. I tried a million different sports. I did, up until the age of 14, I did show jumping. I did karate.
What's that, sorry? Show jumping?
Show jumping.
That's on a horse?
Yes, on a
Good,
horse.
I'm just checking I'm in the right sport.
Yeah, you're right.
Normally people don't lead with a horse sport straight on the bat.
I know.
So I was really into sport. And I'm thinking football, cricket, rugby. And you're like, show jumping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Show jumping, karate, cricket, rugby.
Okay.
And squash.
Yep.
That was up to the age of 14. Then around 13, though, I got into golf. So I played competitive golf in high school with rugby and cricket still, but only really came into my own with sport in high school. So I was a year young at school, and so I got to high school and then did my first year playing with obviously the kids that were a year older than me, played C's and D's, and then stayed in that age group for the next year because obviously then I was with my age group, and then played A's for everything.
Nice.
Which was lovely and wonderful. Great. So
that's the Gladwell book. Have you heard of that? The Outliers.
Yeah.
And
you
were the opposite to the hockey team.
Exactly.
But still, you got a year extra. You got a year less of school then, no?
Yes.
Theoretically.
Yeah. So got to matric, finished matric, but again within our framework, what had been sown into me from very young by my dad was, what you put in is what you get out. Like, don't expect the fruit if you didn't water the plant. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to be there every day. You've got to pitch up. Some days you're going to feel like it. Some days you aren't. Like, motivation comes and goes. Discipline is what's going to keep you going through everything. So that was laid in from very young, I guess. So that going into, playing rugby, I played some rugby overseas after high school, came back, studied at Rhodes University, played rugby. I decided rugby was my sport.
Okay. What position
in
were
a
you?
nutshell. So I played loose forward. I played fetcher, played 7. Played varsity, and then after varsity, I thought, well, I did my honors in ichthyology and fisheries science. And after I finished my honors, I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. So I worked as a junior scientist for a year, and we did work off the west coast of Madagascar, and I worked for the South African Institute of Aquatic Biodiversity.
Okay.
For a year. And then on one of the trips out with SWIOF, the Southwest Indian Ocean Fisheries Project, on one of those projects, met a professor, and he said, you know, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm not sure. He's like, well, you should do a master's. I was like, okay, I guess. Don't have any other plans for next year. And I said, but I mean, I don't have any cash. There's no ways we can afford to do a master's. So he said, well, there are a number of bursaries available. Write a proposal. I'll help you with a proposal. What are you passionate? I said, I love sharks. Sharks are my thing, and had been all the way through varsity. So he's like, well, write a proposal of what you want to do. And I was like, well, here's what I want to do. And got the bursary. So then was based in Durban at the Oceanographic Research Institute at Shark and Marine World. And I was there for 2.5 years and was wild, bro.
Yeah?
I played rugby at College Rovers while I was doing that. And then every month would go out for, depending on how long the trips were, I'd go out on South African long-lining fishing vessels.
Wow.
From a week to 3 weeks at a time. Some were tuna and swordfish vessels, other were shark-directed fishing vessels.
Pole caught, sorry, you said line caught. So you mean how are they catching?
No, long line.
Long line, what's that mean, sorry?
So basically a long line is, you have your vessel, and then at the start of the evening, or the end of the afternoon, let's say 4ish, they'll start putting out a long line.
Yeah.
A long line with a buoy at the end with a radio beacon, right? And every 20 meters or so, there's a drop line that has a hook, a sinker, and bait, and a light on it. Okay? So every 20 meters, they'll put that out, and the line is between 2 and 8 kilometers.
Whoa.
Of fishing line. And then every 20 meters is one of these hooks. And then as soon as they're finished, they then let it float for a while. And then obviously they follow the radio beacon. They'll go back to where it started, and then they haul it in, hook by hook, catching obviously with the fish. Yeah. And that was some of the craziest days that I've experienced.
Yeah.
It is mental.
What, the ocean or the...
Yeah. So a few things. One, the ocean and its moods, and being on a vessel that is, I don't know, let's say 15 to 20 meters long.
So not massive.
It's not massive.
Enough to get to know your neighbor, your mate on the boat really well.
Yeah, really well.
Use the same toothbrush.
Yeah, exactly. So my first trip out, I'm going out, and this is time. Now, I'd been used to research vessels from the junior scientist days. So there was a much bigger research vessel, Norwegian based. The food was great. There was sushi in the galley. You had your own cabin. Glorious. It was the way to travel the seas. Besides being luxury, but it was really nice and well done. Then I got into this, commercial fishing vessel out of Richards Bay. It was my first trip. It was a 2-week trip. I rock up. Now, in order to get onto these vessels, right, because the purpose of me being on them was that I needed to collect data. So I specialized in looking at shark bycatch in the tuna and longline fisheries, so all the sharks they were catching by accident. And then, as a side to that, the biology of the mako shark in the Southwest Indian Ocean. So looking at sexual maturation, growth rates, all of that. So we could develop a management plan to protect the species, because they're in the same family as great white, so they grow really slowly.
Okay. How old do they live to? Sorry, just my ADHD jumping in there.
Yeah. So they live to 30 to 40 years.
Okay.
But they're only sexually mature when they're 17 years old. So that was part of the results of my study. So in order to collect that data, you go on these vessels. But I couldn't just rock up and be like, hey, guys, can I tag along?
Yeah, I'm a scientist from Durban.
Exactly, because they're very protective over their vessel, the crew. What are you going to say? Are you going to report them if they do illegal stuff? You know, because obviously there are fishing quotas and regulations in terms of our fisheries. They're just not very well policed. Okay. Yeah. So in order to get on, I had to train as a fisheries observer, a government observer. So in other words, your job is to go on and make notes of everything they do. You don't have any authority. You can't tell them to do anything. You're just there to be quiet and write down everything that they do and catch. Yeah. And make notes of anything that is peculiar, right? I mean, if you want to live, you won't, but
Yeah.
you write down that stuff, okay? So I trained as a fishery observer. So initially I arrived for this, and it's a Portuguese captain, and you can see like, it's very, like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
You know?
They don't want you on board.
No, they definitely don't want me on board.
No.
You know, so it's very, and they're like, yo, you can stay there. Fine. You're like, so drove to this cabin. There's 5 of the crew members in this little cabin. The bunk beds are like about as narrow as this table. That's how big how wide the beds are. And the galley just reeks of oil that's been used for 1,000 consecutive days. You know, and then you open the bottom where they store the fish, and it pongs.
Yeah.
It smells so bad. I was like, this is going to be interesting. So anyways, we get onto the vessel and we set out, and I go up to the bridge and I start talking to the captain. I'm like, you know, so how long have you been a captain for? And, and he's like,
Yeah.
are you an observer? Are you actually an observer? And I said, well, I am an observer, yes, for this, to get onto your boat. But it's not my purpose. I'm actually a student. I'm studying sharks. I'm trying to find out more information about them and how they grow and whatever. Complete change.
Amazing.
Complete change. He's like, no ways. Well, let me tell you. Then just off we went about all the sharks they'd seen and where they catch them and how big they get and the stories about them. So that changed the whole experience in terms of the crew and me and everything.
Fantastic.
But that first night, once you get out of the calmer waters, we hit rough seas. So it was like, the front of the waves were bigger than the boat. They were longer than the boat.
Have you seen that one on Instagram? The guy on Instagram who posts his videos of him living on the boat, and he's walking vertically up the boat.
Yeah.
Because it's just, and he's like showering sideways, like holding on.
Yeah, no, it's not a joke. It's not fake. Up, so you go up the front of the wave, and then the boat goes over the edge, and that slams, and that's like, bah.
No.
And you do that. Anyway, so I start getting a little bit ill.
A little bit
ill. I'm feeling a little bit ill. I'll never forget. His name was Dirk. This Richards Bay lad, local. And he says, Alan, come with me. I was like, okay, Dirk, I'll come with you. He's like, yeah. And he puts a fat joint in my finger. He's like, smoke. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Smoke this joint. And obviously now I'm feeling like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, you're going to be fine. Puts me in my bunk. He's like, I'll come check on you later. So I pass out. Eventually the storm's over. He wakes me. He's like, Alan, are you alive? He's like, I think so, Dirk. He's like, storm's finished. I was like, thanks, Dirk. And after that, it was fine. Rough seas, felt okay.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dirk saved my life.
Oh.
It was going to be a rough trip after that. But
and you were on there for how long, sorry?
So that was 2 weeks.
Okay.
There were 2 weeks for the first one. And then there were some shorter ones. The longest was 3 weeks.
Wow.
And that was on the shark boats out of Cape Town. And that was, I would say, the craziest experience I had with that. It was 2 days apart. So the first one was we go out, the line is set and they're busy hauling. And we see killer whales.
Wow.
Tracking behind the boat. So now we're watching these whales and the captain looks at me and he's like, fuck. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, they're going to eat the sharks. I was like, what? So he's like, just watch. So as we're pulling in the line, the killer whales swim to the dead sharks, only the dead sharks.
Yeah.
And they bite off just one of the pectoral fins, so it's the fin on the side.
Yeah.
And pull out the liver, because the liver is the most nutritiously dense part of the animal. And they literally swim along the line, and they bite and pull just the livers out, all of the sharks down the line. And they had a pup with them, so the mother would do one and give it to the pup, and then take it to the next and wait for the pup to do it. It was teaching them how to do this behavior. It was like, this is wild. I mean, they're ridiculously intelligent creatures. But what the problem for the skipper is that once the whales find the longliners, they'll then just go with them. Yeah. So you'll pull in and then the boat will leave and you'll go up to try and run away and the whales just follow.
Like drive-through, they just want to hang out with you and eat all the food.
Yeah, it's just takeaways, man. It's just takeaways. What a pleasure. But the problem is, for the shark longliners, the fins are the majority of their income.
Okay.
So you're looking at, depending on the species of shark, you're looking at anywhere between 300 and 1,000 rand a fin.
Wow.
And if you're catching between 40 and 50 tons of shark, it's
a lot
of money. And all of it is going straight east, straight to Asia from here.
Right.
So it's a lot of money in terms of losing that many fins, because it may be just one fin, but if it's one fin over 1,000 sharks, it's a lot of money that they lose. So, and the other thing was they catch a massive mako. It's the biggest mako I've ever seen. So it was 3.5 meters.
Yeah.
And they drag this thing on deck and they slice it, because they're on the deck, and then they gut it and everything before they obviously put it all away. And when they take it off the hook, there's a smaller mako on the hook. So the big mako had chowed the smaller mako that was on the hook.
No.
And you're like, what? Just
madness.
Dog eat dog world out there.
Dog eat
dog. Well, shark eat shark world out there.
So then you came back off the boat, right?
Yeah.
And you're still playing rugby at uni, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, how old are you now, by now?
So now that was the first half of my master's. So I was 24, 25.
Yeah. And you married, or you?
No. I wasn't married. I was seeing someone.
Yep.
And on the second year of my master's, she fell pregnant. And that's when we had Justin.
Right. And you're a dad.
My son. Yeah. So I'm a dad. He's turning 12.
Amazing.
This year. I'm the 3rd of April. He's the 23rd of April. So we're very similar.
Yeah.
We're very similar, which is good.
So do you guys
train
train together much, or what's his interest in sport?
So he is incredibly competitive.
Yeah. Wonder where he gets that from.
Yeah, no idea, guys. Just let us know in the comments below. So he's very competitive, which is awesome. But I've always encouraged him to, if he wants to try anything, to try it. That when I've trained, I've always just brought him along. He doesn't have to train if he doesn't want to. He can sit around, or he can just chill on the side while I train. But more often than not, kids, they want to mimic their folks, and they'll try the things that they're trying, and it's just the natural progression of things. So
Ella loves coming down to CrossFit gyms with me, because obviously she comes with me filming.
How old is she?
She's 6, 5.5, 6. She loves the rings. She loves being able to climb on the ropes and stuff like that. So not all CrossFit gyms let kids in. In South Africa, it's a lot more relaxed.
Oh, is it?
I think in the UK, it's a little bit there's health and safety and stuff like that. But,
I was going to say, one of the benefits here, health and safety, is a bit more relaxed.
Yeah. But again, it's just so simple to show them something you care about. And there are obviously times when they get bored and they're like, can we go home now? Can we go
of course.
But they do. Again, it's like a weird stigmas. I was talking about stigmas, right? It's very easy for people to go on holiday and say drinking's normal. So you go on holiday, so let's just drink, yeah? But if you say to your friends and stuff I'm probably gonna, okay, golf is a different one, because people go on golf holidays. But if you go on holiday, say some of your friends I'm gonna train, then they're like, why? No?
You're on holiday.
Yeah, you're on holiday.
It's literally the point of holiday. Not to do anything.
Yeah, and I'm often I love being able to train on holiday, because then I don't have to run around and rush.
Yes.
Or I can have a 10-minute chat with somebody afterwards.
100%,
talk absolute crap about protein or about nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just talk times on things. But I do find if you can bring your kids into that fold, is what I'm trying to say. So
I think it's massively important. Children learn by example. They are far more likely to copy what they see than just do what they're told. So whether or not Justin decides he wants to be disciplined and approach something in a certain way, the choice is ultimately going to be his. But what he will see me training every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm going to be tired. Sometimes I'm not going to feel like it. But he'll see me doing that every day. And at some point, it's going to register for him.
And we can only hope.
Level. Exactly. But
you're quite lucky to have fit parents. But certainly in South Africa, especially classic old opas and omas that are still the brandy, or they don't go out or whatever.
Different lifestyle.
Yeah, different lifestyle, different mentality, wasn't it? And
completely.
Now, not only is it, there was definitely that kind of 80s vibe, in the sense that, as you said, social media became all about six packs, big biceps, all of that. But now as we become...
And thick thighs.
Thick thighs, big glutes, it also becomes about longevity.
Sure.
The ability to, I was talking earlier, the ability to I mean, worst case scenario, you had to have an operation, you know, often or not, a doctor will always say it's so much easier to operate on somebody who's healthier, more muscle tissue, like it's you know?
I think for a lot of people though, 99% of people know what they should do.
Okay, you're gonna ruffle some feathers here.
Yeah, they know what they should do. I don't feel like health and fitness is rocket science.
It's not.
At all. It is not. It's be active every day for 30 minutes. Or whatever you can. Or if it's 4 times a week for an hour. But you know you should be doing something. But you don't. You know you shouldn't eat as much shit as you do. But you do because you're lazy, or you're bored, or you're stressed, or that's how you cope, or it's the only thing that gives you comfort when you are emotionally stressed out. So we know what we should do, but over time, you compensate, or you almost like negotiate with yourself and justify your decisions. You're like, well, I work so hard, so I deserve X. Or my job is so stressful, and the only thing that calms me down in the evening is a glass of wine. Or whatever it is. And I'm guilty of it. We all are on some level. No one's perfect. I certainly am not. But that's why I say I think everybody knows what they should do. It's will they or won't they? And it's only when something knocks on the door, like a bypass, a stroke, diabetes, hypertension, that stuff starts knocking on the door, and they're like, oh, yes, actually, you know what, I need to see this personal trainer because I need to change my whole life.
Yeah.
In the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You need to change everything around. You need to change, which is not a bad thing to get the wake-up call, but it shouldn't be necessary.
And then if you're like making a cake kind of thing, or with a life, like to bring it back to you, because obviously it's like how you then folded in like CrossFit. Because I obviously, a lot of my guys know, like regardless of what I maybe give my clients or what training I'll do for them, I'll always push a mentality of CrossFit. Like I went and did my CrossFit level 1, and I do believe some of the things that Greg Glassman came out with are pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Whether he's now gonna do a whole new thing on his own again.
Who knows?
I can't remember what it's called. It's called something like bioscience something, is some crazy name. But basically the principle was like, as you said, that you put it so simply, like 30 minutes a day, yeah? And equally, it's like, it's great to be a runner, right? But it's also great to maybe move a little bit of weight, try a little bit of gymnastics, try something like in that AMRAP vibe, try moving a little bit quicker for a bit, not forever. But then so there you are playing rugby, had your wee man, you're obviously now a dad.
Yeah.
When did this CrossFit suddenly appear on your horizon?
Jeez, well, I always loved fitness. I loved rugby preseason.
Okay.
I loved that hard push, that suffering that preseason inevitably was every year.
Just briefly, what does that look like? Is that training twice a day? Was that like running plus weightlifting?
Yeah, exactly. So that's it's running and training, aerobic training in the morning. It's the weight power work in the afternoon. It's field practice. On the alternate days.
Jeez, that's full on.
So it's full on for a preseason, and all the clubs in South Africa, high schools, they all have that now, even to now younger and younger because of the demands of the sport. But that preseason is notably a very tough time, and the time that the majority of people really don't like and don't enjoy.
And there's you just rolling around
yes. Because I love the competitive side of that. You're like, I want to be the fittest in the team. I want to be the strongest in the team. Let's see.
Okay.
And that was great. So I always loved that. Then in 2012.
Boom.
2012.
That's a big year for CrossFit. That was right when they were still on the ranch, no?
Yeah.
That's when Froning started.
Yes.
That's when was that the year he fell off the rope? Was that
2010 was he fell off the rope.
Yes.
11 he won.
Yes, and then 12
he won.
full steam ahead.
Yeah,
and then it was worldwide. Reebok are behind it.
And then it explodes. By 2015, it's a global phenomenon.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Right, I'm right with you now. So where were you then?
So end of 2011, I was here in Cape Town, and I was playing rugby at Foullis Bay. I tore my hamstring and didn't need surgery, fortunately. But the conditioning coach at the time was like, hey, dude, go and try CrossFit as you're getting back into things. So I went and tried CrossFit. I was like, a whole sport that is just preseason. Basically. And I was like, I love this. Love this.
Yeah.
Did the open, made it to regionals,
First time.
Amazing. The disclaimer is that it was very young in Africa at that point. I don't feel like it was a massive achievement that it is today. So I'm just going to put that in there. But regardless of the fact, I really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what? I'm done with rugby. And that's it. Stopped rugby, pursued CrossFit. The next year, did my level 1 and have been doing it ever since.
Amazing.
I've been doing it ever since. Competitive CrossFit is a very different beast to your everyday CrossFitter sampling their lifestyle with some CrossFit training. So I think there always needs to be that discernment between the two, because it's like comparing your casual road runners with Kipchoge.
Right.
I mean, the level of athleticism, dedication, discipline, training regimen needed for that performance, is significantly different to someone who enjoys running in the morning.
Yeah.
In terms of what people see, and why I'm saying it, because what people see. So people see me, or they see games athletes, and they're like, oh no, CrossFit's way too hectic. It's, I don't want to look like that. From the woman's side, if I had a penny every time I heard that.
Yeah, I don't
if
want
it was
traps.
that easy to be that ripped, I promise you'd all be doing it. So knowing that it is different in terms of the approach, and how our CrossFit then can be watered down to wherever you are and however old you are.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a beautiful thing. Is that no matter what the movement is, or whatever the workout is for the day, all of that stuff is, it can always be scaled, altered, adjusted to meet people where they're at, if you have good coaching. And that's what it comes down to.
And then a bit of community on top of it, and then starting getting to know people. And what's weird though is that also freaks other people out. So they, again, how we met, was, if any other reason somebody had gone to a gym, they would have been like, oh, who are these oaks? They're doing mad things, they're going so quick. But the one thing also about CrossFit is just, it's like, hey, go over and just cheer somebody on. Scale the workout so someone else can be involved. Yeah. Obviously, yes, you're going to have your main athletes at a gym.
Sure.
But 9 times out of 10, they're either got so much going on in their head. The reason they're not even saying hello sometimes is because they're also shy too, or because to go that next level, as you said, to train 3 times a day, you got to be a little bit
absolutely.
a little bit different.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah, but then when someone comes and talks to you, then you're like, oh yeah, hey, I help you out. We have it at my CrossFit gym at home. We have a lot of the serious folk do the open gym. And then loads of newbies are saying to me oh, I don't know how I don't want to bother them. I'm like, mate, they love it if you go bother them.
They would love that.
Yeah,
the more they'll feel like a celebrity. That's what they want.
We've actually got strength and depth this weekend. It's it's coming up. Yeah, and we got 2 teams in this year from our box. Yeah,
that's great.
Quite happy. Yeah. So and it's a tough one. It is really tough. To mentally be in that mindset as well.
Is.
And I think, as you're right, a lot of people look at it and go, well, I'll never do that, so why would I bother doing it?
Yeah.
But yet they don't do that with golf. They don't go, oh, I'll never be Tiger Woods.
PGA Tour,
I'm going to go. Because for some reason, golf is so impossibly stupid. No, I'm joking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do play it.
Yeah.
But
It's like Chris Rock. Chris Rock describes it as who would invent that game where you've got to hit a tiny ball all the way over there and a fucking small hole?
And you're gonna, and then go and fetch it.
Yeah, and then go fetch it.
You're playing fetch with yourself.
Yeah. But yet somebody will more likely try that than they will drop in for a drop in.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's there's a whole rabbit hole of psychological stuff in there. But in terms of comfort zone, comfort zone's a massive thing for a lot of people, whether it's a training regimen or whether it's meditating or whatever.
Ice baths.
I am a giant pussy when it comes to cold water.
Yeah.
People are trying to convince me to go and do cold plunges in catch. I'm like, oh man, I've done some. And
don't you go swimming in the morning down in in Camp Spain?
Yeah, in Saunders Beach. Drop in the pool.
Yeah.
With
you
the
just
tidal
watch
pool
everyone.
There. I do sometimes. And there's a process for me. I'm like, I've got to get my feet cold first, and then I go out, and then I go to my knees. My feet are so sore.
Yeah.
When I first get in, I'm like, this is painful. I don't like this. So for me, that's a massive challenge. That's out of my comfort zone. I would rather go and do a 60-minute AMRAP than go and sit in an ice bath for 10 minutes.
And then,
But that's just where I'm at. That's just
yeah. And then so I've now recently just gone back to a commercial gym.
Okay.
So I'm working for Virgin Active in the UK, and I'm loving some of the classes that we're offering to people. But one of the other things that also though gets my goat as well is the classic 5-day bro split. You know, like the back and buys, you know, shoulders and whatever, like all of that kind of like chest day, leg day. As soon as you give them a tiny little AMRAP or a superset, but you call it a superset, but then you just throw in a little peppering of like rounds for time.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like you watch them, they do the first round, then they do the second round. They're like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, I know. Yeah. I'm like, that's CrossFit. And then they're like, what? And I'm like, okay, it's not CrossFit.
We tricked you.
Yeah. And then, but I get loads of clients that are like, oh my God, it feels so good. I mean, like a training, because if you ask someone to do 25 minutes on a cardio machine, like it's freaking boring.
It's really boring.
Yeah.
It's really boring. I think, you know, and it's a nice segue into terms of what I do now at Rourke.
Okay,
So Rourke isn't a CrossFit, and I've been there since 2020. But obviously because CrossFit is my background, I've included the flavor of CrossFit within the programming of the gym. So the idea is that it is functional bodybuilding.
Love it.
That's the best way I can describe it. So let's say, we still have a split where it's still chest focused Monday, leg focused Tuesday, a full body cardio vibe on Wednesday, a back focused Thursday, shoulders and arms focused Friday.
Sick.
But, so for example, you'll do bench, work on percentages with your flies, with pullovers, with that, but then you'll finish with a 15-minute AMRAP of 20 cal assault bike, burpee box jumps and dumbbell snatches.
Wicked.
You know, so you have this combination of the high intensity. And it's not, like I say to the guys, and you mentioned it earlier, where just change the impetus a little bit. So today, I'll give them guidance to like, look guys, today's a long AMRAP. I'm looking for a 70% effort across the board. Just a nice, steady, hold a pace for the workout. Because then there'll be days where like, I want you to go flat out. There's no 80%, that's 100%. If you die kind of thing. You know, like I want it all from you today.
Yeah.
And by changing that and giving different stimulus, that's the magic of the program, and that's what you pull from CrossFit, because you attack different time domains, you know?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, gosh, mate, you just lit my brain up with like, I love to put farmers carries in things. Like it's so simple, you know, especially with slightly older clients. They're not so necessarily like they want to still feel strong.
Yeah.
And so you give them like 2 massive kettlebells, and then they're like, there's no way I'm lifting that. And I'm like, well, actually, your shopping that you probably carried earlier, you know, is like
that one trip that you were trying to make earlier. This is that. Come on.
And then you make them do it, and then like focusing on the posture, good walking. But after a big workout, and again, it's that pre-fatigued stimulus that you've just, you know, different stimulus that you don't realize affects your body.
Yeah.
And then actually you're like, wow, then you can start to notice your fitness change.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you start to feel like, okay, actually, you know what? Like Alan's right. I've been doing this for 6 weeks. I look better, but I actually feel fitter.
Exactly.
The classic one is when you run for a bus. Obviously, you guys don't get many buses around here.
No.
But we in England, we do get public transport, and we have to run for
What's
it sometimes.
What's it like, Rupert? Tell us, please.
You have to get tickets and stuff like that, and you have to pay. But no. I mean, it's classic one is when you run for the bus, especially with some mates or whatever, and you like just whip it. Right, and you get to the bus. Obviously, you're gassed, but you're like, fuck, I went so fast then. You know?
And that reminds me of a crazy stat where they had, I think it was Active Life that released the stat. It was over 80% of people over the age of 30 will never sprint again.
Oh yeah, that's the one going with the Rogan thing on the Instagram. Yeah, and you like overdub it to your reel, you know, like and you put it up. Yeah.
I was like, that is terrifying.
So, I mean, without giving all the secret sauce, right? I still do personal training sessions, right? Tasters. So you remember when you have to sign clients up, right? So I teach my guys what I classify as a perfect taster, right? Without giving away all the secret sauce, I'm always going to finish you on something mad at the end, right?
Every time.
Yeah, and then I like slide the contract over the table while you can't breathe and you think you're going to die. And I'm like, so twice a week then?
Yeah. wherever you think you are,
Yeah.
you could be better.
Yeah. But normally the Echo Assault bike, the big one, and we've got, obviously Virgin got loads of money, so they're just buying them like they're going.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But you've had it. Obviously, it's the new standard one. You've had a go on it, yeah.
Yeah, I've had a go on it.
It's not your little like cool fan ones, which are awesome,
Which are great.
But the new Echo just puts you into a dark spot.
Yeah, it's not great.
No,
it's not great. I mean, it's one of those where you know it's coming.
Yeah.
Well, let's just get it over with.
Super briefly though,
Yeah.
before we could talk about CrossFit for hours,
Yeah.
Just lastly, your dark clothing brand, tell us how that all came about.
Oh, dark. So that was 2017. I had an injury at the time. I buggered my shoulder, but so I was fiddling and faffing around at Virgin Active and using the machines. I was looking around and just looking at people's shorts and stuff. And I was like, man, you know how hard it is to find shorts to do CrossFit in? So I was looking, I was like, what does everyone else wear? And there was the typical, like, that tent material from big brands, I won't say, and that doesn't have any stretch to it. And if you did want stretchy shorts, it was 1,000 Rand.
Yeah.
Or 1,500 Rand for a pair of shorts. It's like, I wonder how difficult it is to make clothes. Google, how do you make clothes? And they're like, well, you have to go to a CMT. Then I was like,
what's a CMT?
What is a CMT?
Okay, yeah.
And then so literally that's how much I knew about making clothes. So, eventually went to a CMT and they're like, do you have a pattern? I was like, where would I get one of those? And they're like, a pattern maker. I was like, excellent. Pattern maker.
Right.
Anyway, so I went through that process and that's where Dark started. And the name Dark came from, that's the place you go. That's the place everyone at some point will go in order to get, in order to achieve something. So I was like, so for me, the brand is about going there. It might be a little bit scary or uncertain, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. And you've got some great colors, some great different
thanks,
looks.
man.
Even yesterday I was training with Garth and he's wearing the shorts, another guy's wearing the shorts. And then I look around and I'm like, freaking everyone's wearing the shorts, right? We have to get you over in the UK. That's going to be the challenge for this year.
Absolutely.
So if you're watching
100%.
this and you happen to be like a massive importer of clothes.
Then hit me up. Yeah,
let's find a way to do it.
darkpa.com.
Yeah. But cool. So look, we covered a lot of stuff. We covered, obviously there's more flavor to find out about you. They can come train with you in town, in Cape Town. Yeah. Down at the gym. Normally, like, how's that work? Do you still do free, like first sessions free or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, pop me a message, guys, on Instagram, LNF7, and you guys are welcome to come in and do a drop-in session at.
And it's lads only as well.
Yeah, so the gym is split. The lads train on the first floor, the ladies train on the third floor, and then on Saturdays we train together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, flavor. I mean, look, we covered a lot of stuff. As always, just like, gravitate towards the people that are going to have the right energy for you this year. Forget about the 2024 new me, new something.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Who cares?
Just get into something new, try something new, come down, like reach out to people. You never know who's actually going to have loads of advice to give you and share with you. And have fun.
Absolutely.
Right. Good.
Big man.
There we go.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.